Uspap page 238. Jurisdictional exemption rule. Number 116. Jurisdictional exemption and confidentiality. Question. I was recently hired to perform an appraisal assignment for a government agency. The agency has a regulation that requires me to provide the appraisal report to other government agencies if requested. Does this regulation create a jurisdictional exemption to the confidentiality section of the ethics rule? Response: no. The confidentiality section of the ethics rule reads in part, an appraiser must not disclose, number 1, confidential information, or number 2, assignment results to anyone other than the client, parties specifically authorized by the client, state appraiser regulatory agencies, third parties as may be authorized by due process of law, or a duly authorized professional peer review committee, except when such disclosure to a committee would violate applicable law or regulation. Bold, added for emphasis. Since the confidentiality section of the ethics rule allows for the disclosure of confidential information to persons specifically authorized by the client and third parties as may be authorized by due process of law, the jurisdictional exemption rule would not apply. Page 239, appraisal development - client issues. Number 117, payment by a party other than the client. Question. Some clients require me to pick up the check for the appraisal fee from the property owner. Since I am being paid directly by the property owner, does the property owner become the client? Response: no. Uspap defines the client as the party or parties who engage by employment or contract an appraiser in a specific assignment. Comment: the client may be an individual, group, or entity and may engage and communicate with the appraiser directly or through an agent. The act of the property owner or any other entity paying the appraiser does not make them the client under Uspap. However, state law could take precedence over Uspap in this situation. Therefore, you should contact the pertinent jurisdictions to ensure that there is not a conflict between applicable law and Uspap. Situations may arise, especially in certain mortgage lending related assignments, in which this payment arrangement is not permitted. Number 118, difference between clients and intended users. Question. What is the difference between a client and an intended user? Response: the client is the party or parties that engage an appraiser in an assignment. There are special obligations and responsibilities. For instance, confidentiality, required disclosures by the appraiser, etc. as a result of an appraiser-client relationship. An intended user is a party identified by the appraiser based on communication with the client at the time of the assignment. The appraiser is obligated to ensure the appraisal report is appropriate for the intended use and can be properly understood by the intended users. A party receiving a copy of an appraisal or appraisal review report is not automatically an intended user. To be an intended user, the recipient must have been identified as such in the appraisal report by the appraiser. Number 119. Appraisal management company as authorized agent for a client. Question. I accept assignments from an appraisal management company, AMC, that has informed me they are an authorized agent for the lenders they represent. As the AMC is not my client, they have requested that I only identify the lender they are representing as the client. Uspap says the appraiser's client is the party who engages the appraiser. Is it ethical to omit the AMC's name as the client on my reports? Response: yes. If the AMC is acting as a duly authorized agent for a lender, identifying only the lender as your client is acceptable. However, the appraiser must be aware of situations where disclosure of the AMC might be required by law, regulation, or the secondary market.